Okay, so today's session is really an info session. So we want to get as much information out to you as interested students about the programs and also about how to get into the program. So I'm going to go through what our different majors are, what are some of the options after you graduate, as well as the internal transfer process. Okay. So just to introduce BPK in general, BPK is the Biomedical, Physiology, and Kinesiology department. Okay. So as a department, some of the common linkages is that it's focused on the human body, so physiology, anatomy, movement, and health. There is a lot of, in addition to our courses, there's a lot of research opportunities in the department. As well, co-op we have a really strong emphasis on our co-op opportunities and have a really good co-op department. And I'll speak more about co-op later on. There are 3 different majors within the department. So there's Kinesiology, Biomedical Physiology, and Behavioural Neuroscience. So when you're coming into the department, you will declare one of those majors. Okay. So the 3 different majors, they all are going to lead to a Bachelor's of Science degree. Okay, so at the end of this, you will have a BSc. They all require a 1.5 years of general science prerequisites. So your first year to 1.5 years of courses are going to be common across all 3 majors. So you will get a really solid background in human physiology and anatomy. And all 3 of those majors do give you a really strong foundation for applying to graduate school, to applying to professional school, med school, those types of things. I'm going to go through each of the majors, really just give you a broad overview. If you have any questions, let me know. So kinesiology, this one relates to the human structure and function, particularly in how that relates to movement and health. Okay, so this particular major has a concentration in active health and rehab. So those are fields that are related to, if you think about like a physio clinic or a rehabilitation clinic, a kinesiologist can work in those settings. So often our students that are in this major are interested in occupational therapy, physiotherapy, anything rehabilitation related. Some of the different careers that people can get into, and this isn't an exhaustive list, but the professional schools are mentioned up here, so med school, dental school, physical or occupational therapy, optometry. Then there are careers that are a little bit more specialized with regards to active health and rehab. So being a kinesiologist, that would be, for example, working in a physio clinic, where a physiotherapist might create a plan for rehabilitation, and the kinesiologist would actually implement that plan with their client, with the patient. Working in ergonomics or disability management. You can also work in health and safety, so that's working at work sites. And then also doing things really related to active health, so doing like strength and conditioning, athletic therapy, getting into sports, so that could be in coaching, those types of things. The second major we have is biomedical physiology, and this major also gives a really strong background in the sciences. So you will notice a strong emphasis on biology, chemistry, molecular biology, and it's related to the human body, but I would say this degree focuses more on the body at the cellular level. So if you've done any of the MBB courses or biology courses, think about the biology but of the body, essentially. Okay. So again, there are the careers that lead to professional school in the healthcare field. This particular major tends to focus in on lab-related work as well. A lot of physiology courses. If you look, one way to kind of determine which of the majors fits you the best is look at the courses in the major. So in this major, you'll see there's more physiology courses and more lab courses. Okay. Pharmaceutical sales as well. Doing research in the biotech industry is kind of a growing field. And I'm actually going to let Macy talk a little bit about that because she does have some experience in biotech herself. Do you want to say some words about the biotech field?
Yeah, I don't know how familiar you guys are with the biotech industry, but it encompasses things like the pharmaceutical industry, medical device, which is really growing at the moment. And medical device is really exciting because it encompasses, there's a lot of collaboration with engineers, mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, even software engineers, with a lot of smart devices linked to health devices. Medical devices essentially range from pacemakers to band-aids to crutches. So those are all considered medical devices. So even a company might require an ergonomics person for crutches redesign or something like that. Or and there's a lot of diagnostic medical devices around, so that would tap into the physiology portion of that. So it's a very a collaborative sort of industry right now, which is really exciting and innovative. And the other biotech industry, you could say, is companies that help researchers do their work. So a large company that's here locally is Stem Cell Technologies. So that's an example of that type of work. So yeah.
So Macy will be around later too, by the way, if anyone wants to ask more questions. But it is a really exciting field, and it's definitely a growing field. So it's something to consider as a future option. And then the last major we have is behavioral neuroscience. So this is kind of a unique program. It's a newer program too. It's the newest of our three majors. So it's jointly offered between the BPK department and the psychology department. So you are having that combination of behavioral sciences, which you get through your psychology component, and the physiological sciences, so essentially the science of the body, right? Neuroscience in particular, to focus on the brain. Again, there are a lot of career opportunities in the healthcare field, as well as the research opportunities. But there are some really interesting opportunities to work in healthcare, but in a different way. So working, for example, as a behavioral interventionist, working with special populations, autism, for example. And then also people that work in mental health areas, or working in addictions counseling. I've met a few behavioral neuroscience students that work on the downtown east side, for example, and there's a lot of different kind of opportunities that are very diverse, but also very niche, I find, in this program. So I'm always available to talk about this program. You should know that you also have access to the psychology advisor, because, like I said, this is a joint program. So if you want to know more about the psychology courses, definitely reach out to the psych academic advisor. Okay. I did mention co-op, and I want to speak really briefly on it. There is a co-op department that you're all eligible to join. And even though you're not in the program yet, you're still eligible to be a co-op student. So you can be an intended major and be a co-op student at the same time. Co-op's a really great opportunity to get work experience within the field of study that you're in or that you're interested in. Lots of benefits to it. Good life experience in terms of just working out in the workforce. It's a paid experience as well. So you would typically take 1 or 2 terms off of school and work. But again, you are getting paid. So I mean, I did 5 co-ops as a student here, and I paid most of my tuition actually through co-ops. So I didn't feel like you're losing anything in that sense. There are part-time co-ops as well. So we do have some students who do co-op and take 1 or 2 courses at the same time. Typically, the co-op placements are local, so around this area, but there are co-op placements that are across the country and even internationally. So we've had some really interesting ones even in Asia. I had a co-op in the States for 8 months, and co-op does a really good job of helping you get the visas, get set up in your new placement areas and that sort of thing. And you get a lot of great training in how to market yourself. So this is something that's really useful, not just for jobs, but even if you decide to apply for grad school or professional school, you do want to know how to enhance your profile. Things like resume writing, cover letters, interviews, like these are all things that will help you no matter what direction you take after graduation. And this is just an overview of what your degree is going to look like. So I think you're all kind of in your first or second years right now. So this is essentially what you're working towards. So your bachelor's degree is made up of at least 120 units. If you do an honors degree, you do more than 120. Your units are made up of lower division and upper division courses. So lower division are 100 and 200 level courses. Okay, so those are the courses you're probably doing right now as you're working to get into the program. So you can see for our majors, you're taking a lot of the science courses are your lower division courses. When you've entered the program, you will have access to the upper division courses. The degree requires 45 units of upper division courses. So that's essentially 15 upper division courses, right? There's another thing that you want to be aware of, which is called WQB requirements. Have you all heard of that? Does it make sense, or is it still a little fuzzy? Breadth requirements are essentially courses that allow you to get experience outside of your major, right? So that's why SFU, for a student in our program, you're a science student, so you would be required to do 2 humanities courses and 2 social science courses, okay? And then you are required to do 2 writing courses. One of those courses, if you're in our kinesiology major or BP major, would be BPK 304W. So any course that has W behind it, that's going to fulfill the writing requirement, okay? There is also an option to do a minor. So if you were to do a minor, you could do it in either kinesiology or biomedical physiology. Behavioral science only has a major. There's no minor option, okay? Now a minor can be combined with another major, so that can be a major from any department or any faculty, or it can be combined with another minor. Now a minor has less requirements, and it's also easier to get into the minor. There are less upper division courses as well. At the end of the day, you're still going to do 120 units. If you do 2 minors, it's just going to be a combination of 2 areas of studies, right? The other option is for you to do an honors. So as I mentioned, honors it's essentially the same degree. You're just adding on extra units, upper division units. So typically you're adding 15 upper division units. And those units are made up of classes which would include a thesis. So you propose a thesis. That's actually one course typically. A thesis is basically a project that you're going to work on. There's a question that you're trying to explore, and you're going to do experimentation within a lab or within a field of research to answer that question. And you would have to have a supervisor. So that would be one of our profs, or if you're in behavioral neuroscience, it could be a psych prof. Someone who's typically you're interested in their area of research, and your research is going to be within their lab, okay? And then the last course that you would do for an honors is your reporting on your thesis, okay? Any questions on that? Okay, so we'll get into the actual nitty-gritty of how to get into our programs, and I'm actually going to show you an example of the approval form. And I'm going to pick behavioral neuroscience just because I think most people here are wanting that program. So there is some good information on the first 2 pages, but I want to direct your attention to these 2 sets in particular. So there is a competitive process to get in. Now, you're simply competing against a GPA. You don't have to worry about how many other people are applying to our program. The seats don't limit our numbers of students that are getting in, and the GPA doesn't float. So we start with Set 1 courses. There is a list of courses here. They mostly include first-year science courses with some psychs and a BPK course. You want to have a minimum of 3.0 GPA if you're using your Set 1 courses, okay? If a student doesn't quite have that GPA, they still have a couple options. Some students will repeat a course. Let's say there's one course that really brought your average down. If you repeat a course, that course, the better grade actually replaces the old grade. Okay, so that actually makes a really significant difference in GPA. The other option is you can take more courses, and that's when we'd look at set 2 courses. Okay, so if you didn't get in on set 1, make sure you're finished all of set 1 courses, and then we can start working on set 2 courses. There are more first and second year science courses here. There's a couple more BPK courses and a couple more psych courses. You would need to do at least 4 set 2 courses if you're going to use set 2. Now the set 2 GPA actually drops. So we would calculate your GPA based on all of set 1 plus any of the set 2 courses that you've done, and we're looking for a GPA of 2.7 at that point. Okay. Now if you've done more than 4 set 2 courses, we're going to look at all set 2 courses. So it's not your top 4 courses, it's any courses that you've done in set 2. Okay. Does that make sense? Any questions on that one there? Pretty clear?
Would you recommend that, say you did make the 3.0 in your set 1, would you recommend you retake a class that you think would bring up your GPA rather than going to set 2, or would you say going to set 2?
So I would, so that's a good question. So if you didn't quite have the 3.0 GPA, I would definitely look at the course that was pulling you down, and keep in mind all these are required courses for your degree. So you need a C- or better on all required courses to graduate. So if your course was, or if that grade was below a C-, you'd need to repeat that anyways. So I'd say in that case, repeat that course at that point.
I had a C+ that was bringing my GPA down a bit.
Okay.
So I would would that be in my best interest to repeat that course if it was bringing my GPA?
Yeah, sure. So a couple things I would consider is, one, I'd want to be strategic about it and say, is this a course that I feel I can do much better in? And if you feel pretty confident about it, then yes, go for it. The other thing I would recommend doing is use the GPA calculator and see exactly what grade you need in that course to bring your whole combined average up to 3.0. If you feel like it's manageable, then go for it. If it's not, or if it's not going to be enough, then think about adding more courses through set 2. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So for set 1, if suppose it says you can choose 2 courses from the math
from this list, yeah.
If I would have done all 4 when I applied, you would still look at all of them.
That's correct. Yeah. So all the courses that are listed, will be used in the approval GPA. Yeah. And same goes for set 2. If you work on set 2, even if you've done more than 4, we will still look at all the courses that you've taken. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Pretty clear? Okay. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. So lastly, I just want to provide our contact information. You're more than welcome to come see me for an appointment if you have any questions. As well, the approval forms, you can submit those to me online. So that form that we were looking at is actually a fillable PDF, right? So you can fill that in, fill in your GPA, and there's a place for a signature. You can use a digital signature, is fine on that one. The next deadline is going to be actually June 1st. So if you're doing courses this term that are applying to either set 1 or set 2, we want to have the final grades for those, obviously. So when you get your final grades, fill in those grades, and as long as you've done the minimum number of courses, you can submit that form to me. And then probably by the first or second week of June, I'll run a report and I should know who's approved or not. But again, it's a fairly straightforward process, and you'll know if you have the GPA or not. The GPA, again, it doesn't change at all. It's strictly 3.0 for set 1 and 2.7 for set 2. So that's it. The other thing I just want to mention is you guys have been to advising, but my office is at the back of the general office. So Again, we have drop-in advising hours there as well. The co-op office, for those who don't know, is right across the hallway from us. And I do strongly recommend reaching out to them early, and don't feel that you can't apply because you're not in the program. You are able to apply. And it typically takes 2 semesters before you actually get a co-op job anyways. So I do recommend apply into the program early, because by the time you are admitted into the program, then you can start applying for jobs right away and not have to wait another couple semesters. So.
Is it a really broad range of jobs that you
Yeah.
can do?
Yeah, so that's the beauty of co-op. Because of the breadth of offerings, I think that's one of the really strong reasons to take co-op, is that you can try different jobs. And it can give you that information about what you like, but also what you don't like. You might try a job, a work term, and realize, hey, this isn't actually for me. But you might not have known that had you not worked in the field. The other really great things are the networking opportunities, the references, just the connections. For me, actually, my last co-op led to my first job out of university. So it is really important to use your time at SFU, as part of your education, taking your courses, but also using it as a way to kind of launch you to the next steps after you graduate, whether that be graduate school, professional school, or careers. There are a lot of really good connections you can make here that will make you more competitive when you leave SFU. So, okay.
Do you take an appointment to go to the co-op?
You can actually drop into co-op. They have information sessions every term, but I know their information session has passed already, in which case you can just go in and they'll put you onto, they've got an email list, and then they'll give you the procedure to actually get into their program. But yeah, just know that you are eligible to apply right now. So, okay. Sounds good? Okay. So thanks for coming, guys.
Thank
Yeah?
you.
Okay. Feel free to take a pen or 2 or 3. There's more than enough for everyone. Yeah. And if you have any questions, you can come chat with us now too. We'll stick around for a bit.